Welcome again to our weekly Wednesday morning, 9:45 in the morning, Ask the Integrative Doctor. And today, Talon, I thought what we would do is talk about what's in the news, because one of the things we want to do is be available for current topics. And what's everyone thinking about as far as current news?
Well, the cold and flu, and there's a lot of buzz going on right now about the coronavirus, this outbreak in China.
That's right. And so we thought what we would do is tell you how we are preparing ourselves to build our immune systems and what are some logical things to do, as well as some of the current, updates.
Sure.
So what would I do for the very first thing is to state that there is, at this point in time, no serious impact being reported as far as our health in the United States. The Centers for Disease Control and the Health Secretary of the United States just yesterday gave an update that I watched regarding what is called the 2019 new novel coronavirus. And that is from Alex Azar. So he's our U.S. Health Secretary for Health, and he said the risk is low. So currently we're at a low risk. So everyone can take a deep breath, okay? And they have said regarding travel that we should reconsider travel to China, but it's not prohibited. They have separated out the province of Wuhan, where this was first noted, and they don't want you to go there. But in general, they're reporting it's a low risk right now.
And let me just pause and say that we are answering your questions live. That we want this to be an interactive conversation, of course. So if you have any questions, we're here, we're looking, and we'll ask the doctor your questions as well too.
All right. So the other thing is that the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Robert Redfield, has stated that there are now in the world only 18 places where they have identified the coronavirus. And there are in the United States 4 places, and they have made 20 airports places for screening as far as, temperature and stuff like that. And the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, Dr. Anthony Fauci, they're working on diagnostics. There is no diagnostic for coronavirus. You can't go to your doctor and say, would you test me for coronavirus? That just can't be done. Even if you think you're ill and you have a fever and a flu, you can't go to the hospital and there be a diagnostic test readily available for you. This takes time. There are no therapeutics for this. There's no treatment for the coronavirus per se. There are, like when we had the Ebola virus back around 2013, there is a antiviral drug, I may not pronounce it right, Remdesivir, that has had very promising effects. And of course, they're still working on vaccines. I think they have vaccine protocols for 2 of the strains of Ebola. And then the coronavirus, there are 2 antiretroviral drugs called Kaleidra, and there are some monoclonal antibodies that they have developed from the SARS episode, and there are no vaccines. So this is something that we want to point out. It's low risk, and the best things that you could do are probably the next question, if there's any of those questions.
And I do want to point out that we've talked a few times now about what can you do to prevent the cold and flu. And if you go back and look at our previous videos,
That's right,
you'll find a lot of that same information there, right? But let's quickly review some of the things we can do preventatively if either we feel a cold or flu are coming on, or maybe we're about to go travel, right? We're going to be stuck on an airplane with a closed ventilation system. What are some things we can do to bolster our immune system if we feel we're coming down on something or expecting to be an immune compromised potential scenario?
Well, I would say the first thing to do is to get a good night's sleep. Actually, sleep builds and repairs the human body.
Mhm.
And so many people don't report this, but sleep is one of your biggest immune protectors. Another thing is to stay well hydrated. Your white blood cells, your immune system communicates through your plasma in the interstitial and in the circulatory system, and it needs a fluid base. So if you want to help dilute this and improve your health as far as the immune function, you have to drink plenty of water.
And it's water, right? I mean, I don't want to have Diet Coke or
Oh, no.
iced tea or coffee as my hydration if I'm trying to stay healthy.
Well, in fact, if you have even juice, if you drink juice, I think as little as 8 teaspoons can shut down your immune system
'Cause
for
of
up
the
to
sugar.
eight hours. Yeah, because of the sugar. It will
Right.
actually stop the phagocytosis moving of your white blood cells. So you have to understand drinking juices and things like this. We're talking about good old water and the importance of your water.
Yeah, and especially if you're going to be on an airplane, we all know that when you get off of the plane, your nose is dry, your mouth is dry. So what that's doing on a microscopic level, right, is your tissue, especially that sensitive tissue inside your nose, your mouth, your lungs,
Mhm.
we could be getting cracks in there, and cracks can lead to an opportunity for viruses to get in.
Well, your whole immune system is well understood, and one of the barriers is your skin, but your mucous membranes, your bronchi and stuff, even your urinary tract, all these are coated with an epithelial lining that is well tuned to defend you. You have great immune system if you're doing healthful things. And if you got on an airplane and you're traveling somewhere, I would recommend taking extra vitamin D.
Yes.
Vitamin D is actually a hormone. It's always called vitamin D, but it is a hormone. And one of the definitions of a hormone is it has a distant effect on many systems throughout your body. Vitamin D will help enhance the buildup of the types of white blood cells that fight bacteria and viral infections. One of the things we find is a large portion of the United States is deficient in vitamin D, just as a general rule. So we, with our patients here, are advising them to take it. So I would say our patients are not as deficient, but we do ask if they're going to come down or feel that they're coming down with a cold or they're taking travel. We have these D 50,000 capsules. So that's high dose. This is not something you would take every day. And we would ask them to take one a day for 5 days. And that would give them effectively over the course of 5 days, 250,000 extra units.
Yep.
And that's on top of their daily multivitamin dose of vitamin D. But that's a high dose for just 5 days.
Yep. And let me say something about the vitamin D. There's been a run on vitamin D. So
Yes.
we're having a hard time getting this 50,000 IU. In fact, Orthomolecular said we might not get it until May.
Oh, man.
But I do want to let patients know we do have a 10,000 IU vitamin D in several different forms.
Yes, yes.
And we're actually going to have here in about 2 weeks 50,000 IUs in our own TLC as
Great.
backup.
Yeah, okay. So taking extra vitamin D, if you think you're coming down with a flu, or if you're going to travel or be stuck in a confined place for a prolonged period of time, I would do that 50,000, one a day for 5 days. The other thing is to take vitamin C. Now, vitamin C, I think in the powdered form, is an excellent way because it has a bigger dispersal, especially to the mucous membranes of your oral cavities. Vitality C has 4,000 or 4 grams per scoop.
Per scoop.
And if you take vitamin C, a huge amount all at once, you can get diarrhea.
Right.
So we would suggest that you spread out your vitamin C and take at least 5,000, 4,000 extra milligrams a day. More if you can tolerate more.
Yeah.
I can tolerate a lot up to 20 grams orally without diarrhea. But I've been doing it a long
It's about
time.
4 or 5 grams of vitamin C a day, at least orally, and that would be about a scoop of
One
this.
scoop, yeah,
Or maybe if build up to a scoop in the morning
and a scoop at night.
nighttime.
Mhm.
Okay.
Now, we also have intravenous vitamin
Yes.
C. And intravenous vitamin C has been studied, and there are very unique publications, even as recently as October 2019. The University of Virginia in JAMA published the effect of vitamin C on in organ failure and biomarkers of inflammation and vascular injury in patients with sepsis and severe acute respiratory failure. Now, this is just last October I found. Now, we've known this for decades, but high-dose vitamin C was found in these studies to actually very significantly reduce the death rate of people with, severe upper respiratory distress syndrome. And we're not talking about 5%, we're talking like 16, 18% survival rate, especially in the first few days. That's why we say when you're feeling the onset of a cold, start it right away. Don't wait until a fever comes,
Yes.
okay? And protect yourself, boost yourself up the first few days. So our IVs are anywhere in the range of 12 and a half grams. We have a 25 gram, we have 50, 75, 100 gram IVs. Now, tell them about what are the options for people in the public if they're not a patient?
Sure. So there's a blood test that we want to check on patients for high dose intravenous vitamin C, because there's a very rare type of
Deficiency,
right, problem.
G6PD.
Right, so we need to do a blood test, but for the general public, you don't have to be a patient here any longer to come in and get a high dose vitamin C.
Right.
So if you are a patient here, if you're not, you can come in, bring a family member. Why not? If you're starting to feel sick, I know I want to get my wife in, my kids in, so we're going to be sharing the same sort of germs. We'll start you at 12.5 grams of vitamin C, so that would be like 4, almost 5 servings of this.
Right.
Bypasses the gut, gets straight 100% bioavailability into the blood.
That way they won't get the diarrhea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And then we can do a blood test and move you up to 25 grams or 50 grams, 75, all the way up to as much as 100 grams of vitamin C.
And how long does it take turnaround time to get the G6PD test on glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase?
Less than a week. So you could come in on a Monday and we should have the results as early as Friday.
Okay. And I just want to point out, maybe 0.05% of the population doesn't have enough G6PD to handle high doses of IV vitamin C.
Right.
I have actually never seen a reaction in my 40 years of using high-dose vitamin C. And I have safely given for many decades 25 grams without even measuring it. But at our clinic here, we demand measurement for anything above 12 and a half grams of vitamin C.
That's right. What else can patients take to help bolster their immune system?
Well, I would definitely tell you that eating a diet that is of real foods, staying away from processed foods, because almost half the sugar content in the American diet is coming through the packaged, canned, jarred foods, salad dressings. These are hidden sugars.
And processed foods.
Processed
Sneaky.
foods, yeah. So one of the things you want to do is eat real food, learn to cook your food so that you can stay away from that sugar. But we have a series of nutrients that we tend to use. One is called Viracid. This is put out by Orthomolecular. And there's very excellent research showing that elderberry, as well as echinacea, are very potent in reducing the disease course of the flu. And these have been studied in large-scale controlled trials amongst the healthcare. Now, this contains also extra nutrients in it, such as zinc, which is a supportive thing for your immune system. Everything's important, but the things that have been really studied to show that, and Vitamin A is in here as well. So this is kind of like a kitchen sink of all the wonderful things. We say when you start this, usually the first day you load by taking 3 capsules 4 times a day, day one, or 12 capsules. Then thereafter about 3 a day. So I like Viracid. Another thing is we have talked about vitamin D, but I just want to point out for your children, we have the liquid form.
Right.
A dose that would be good for a child preventatively would be just 1 drop of vitamin D in their mouth a day is 1,000 international units. I would give them 1 to 2 drops a day. If they seem like they're getting ill, I would go up to 5 drops.
Yep. I do that with my kids. They started on the liquid vitamin D,
Mhm.
and we drop it right under their tongue and ask them to hold it there, or sometimes put it in their water.
Right.
And actually, I have a 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they're both now taking capsules because they want to do it with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Now, the other thing that is probably helpful if you feel like you're coming down with the flu, and we use this for all standard illness, even bacterial, and that is silver. Argentin silver is a nanosilver, which means the dispersing of the viral killing, bacterial killing, and fungal killing of silver is much more intense with Argentin. I think over the counter, they make a half-strength product called Sovereign.
Sovereign silver.
Sovereign silver.
You can get that at Whole Foods, Sprouts, Mothers. And this is the professional strength.
Right.
Same company, but this is a higher strength.
Right. And these are droppers, so you could put it in an ear, you could put it, in your mouth. This comes in a spray, so you could spray your face, spray your hands, spray surfaces. It comes as like a 8-ounce, 16-ounce,
Goes
a
all
gallon.
the way up to a gallon.
A gallon.
Right.
And so
You drink it.
you could drink this easily. So if I ever feel I'm getting ill, I'll easily take a tablespoon. I won't even measure it. I'll just unscrew the bottle. I'll take a sip and swallow it like that. A
Gargle.
gulp. Yeah.
You can gargle.
And
Hold it under your tongue.
Right.
I really like the nasal spray because in the morning,
Right. Yeah.
my nose is really dried out. So I'll just preventively do a couple sprays up there. It really does a nice job of moisturizing my nose.
There's a gel form too, where you pump out and you get a little gel, and you can put it topically on places as well. So Argentin was studied in a Bethesda 2009 research article on the killing effect of Argentin silver on Ebola. So it works very, very, very well.
Right. And I do want to mention, we do see your questions coming in. Keep bringing them. We'll get to those right here in a second. And you did mention spraying on surfaces. I just want to warn you that the colloidals, the nano silver in here can stain certain surfaces.
Right.
So be careful what you spray it on, but
Yeah.
certainly your skin, your hands, you
Yeah.
won't get any stains
In
there.
your face. Right. The other thing is, and I always bring this up, there are 5 studies done by the British Journal of Nutrition, the Journal of Nutrition here in America, the Journal of Medicine and Science and Sports and Exercise, the Journal of Nutrition again, and the Journal of Integrative Medicine, all on the immune boosting effects of the Juice Plus series. And these things actually did show that in stressed out people, law students they studied, elderly population who are more susceptible to viruses because the immune system starts to decline with age. And it does in children as well, the very young, and very athletic men. They looked at all these results and showed that it reduces the severity of upper respiratory challenges, it reduces the missed days of work, and it increases the number and activity of immune cell function. So I also recommend that people just stay on Juice Plus.
Yep. I take this every single day. We have the red, the green, and the purple. I take 2, 2, and 2.
Right. Berries, vegetables, and fruit concentrates so that the sugar is not in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we like this that's different about like a monotherapy that where certain nutrients are extracted is this is whole food. They literally took the entire plant, they dehydrated it, took out the sugar, the salt. There's nutrients in an apple that we don't even have names for yet, and we don't know how synergistically those things work together.
Right.
Yeah, so this is wonderful. I love taking this.
So that's about the equivalent of 30 different fruits and vegetables every day. And it's the most researched nutraceutical in the world. That's why I use it as a maintenance to keep my immune system functioning very well.
I do see a question on here where somebody was kind enough to answer. The spelling of this is Argentin, Argentyn 23. It's Argentin. That's what we carry. It's only available through doctors. If you're not in the area, you can pick it up at a Whole Foods and Mothers, but look for Sovereign Silver. Sovereign, like a sovereign state.
That's the name of it.
Right. Same company, same product, just half the strength.
Now, I also want to say there's some simple things. The coronavirus is, there are many coronaviruses. If you remember the SARS epidemic, I think it was in, maybe 2014. This is a coronavirus. If you remember the MERS virus, that was the Middle Eastern retrovirus, and that came out of the Middle East. So that was the MERS epidemic. then the SARS epidemic. And I want you to understand that these are all coronaviruses. So there's many different kinds.
Yeah, we actually got a question. Is there a common coronavirus versus the deadly strain found in China?
Yes, there's all kinds. Coronaviruses are not 2 or 3. There's a family of them.
Okay.
And these are there's different kinds of viruses. It's called a retrovirus.
Okay.
And some of the medicines that they've done to work on AIDS disease, autoimmune deficiency diseases, like I mentioned before, from the health secretary, some of those antivirals are retrovirus, and they are very promising. But again, there's no real treatment for it.
Okay.
And the coronavirus really is in the animal kingdom. The MERS was from camels in the Middle East, and this current corona is, in animals, bats, things like that. And it really was a concern if it passed to a human being, cross species, okay? But what makes this more concerning is now they're finding it from human to human transmission.
Right.
Therefore, we say, please blow your nose into a Kleenex, cover your mouth if you're sneezing in public. If you're ill, stay home for a few days, until you're not coughing and sneezing so much. Do those things, and then wash your hands often with soap and water. Increase your hands washing with soap and water.
Yeah, we get trained here every single year on cleanliness
Mm-hmm.
and disinfection protocols,
Mm-hmm.
and it really makes you think about how many times a day we touch our face and we don't even think
Exactly.
about it. So I'm very aware of touching my face, so it's super important to wash your hands. And we don't want to do it so much that we dry our hands out in hot water necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but cool to tepid water. Wash your hands, scrub them good, for a couple seconds there.
Now, the other thing is there are those disinfectants like at Walmart and
Gels,
Yeah.
sprays. What do you think about those?
I don't like them. First of all, they excessively dry you out, the alcohol's in them, and they are not very good as an antiviral. They provide some protection, so it's not, I'm not telling you not to do it, but there's nothing more important than soap and water. And, there's that axiom, if you sing happy birthday to yourself, it takes about 12 seconds to sing happy birthday, and then that's the time you should be washing your hands with soap and water to really do a deep clean on your hands and do it more often. Now, your eyes make tears. Tears have anti-immune or pro-immune defense enzymes to try and fight this, but the virus could come through your mucous membranes of your eye from you touching your nose and mouth a lot. So even getting eyeglasses, if you must go on an airplane, you might want to get a wraparound for your eyes, okay? You might want to go ahead and wear the mask, one, so that if you are a silent carrier, you wouldn't be developing it, because it could take 2, 3, 4 days before you would develop symptoms if you were coming down with this. And the virus can last as much as, they've seen it die off in 1 day and last as long as 5 days on surfaces. So you want to clean surfaces, doorknobs, stuff like that.
We're getting some questions about vitamin D levels. So what do you suggest is a minimum vitamin D level, and the ranges being between 30 and 100 on most labs is your reference range?
Mm-hmm.
What do you like to see?
I like it above 70 for sure. 80 is our goal here at the clinic, to at least 100. And so I would aim for that. The same with vitamin C, by the way. If you look at the random population, we are just above being diagnosed with scurvy. I mean, in the general diet, the only amount of vitamin C in your body at any given time is maybe 100 micromoles, okay? And that's for a good, healthy eating person. If you're a smoker, that's going to ruin your immune system. If you over-exercise in really hardcore competitive sports, plus being in the gym and touching all the sweat and stuff, things there, you need to be thinking about that. Now, the vitamin C level they got up in that October 1 publication in JAMA, they got them up in the blood to 1,000 micromoles, okay? And you can't do that with oral supplementation. You just can't. You would get way too much diarrhea. So intravenous vitamin C is very, very important.
Okay. I'm seeing one item on the table here that you didn't mention, probiotics. How does that support the immune system?
Well, probiotics themselves have a plethora of advantages in helping the lining of the system and your immune system. They're involved in making vitamins as well. So they are just a general good thing to do. And that's why I also brought out a good general multivitamin. A good general multivitamin will have vitamin A in it, and A helps with the integrity of the epithelial system. And if you are coming down with the flu, 20,000 international units a day, but in general, 5,000 a day in a good multivitamin. And just to be clear on this, carotenoids, beta carotenoids, the yellow of the carrot and stuff like that, these are pre-vitamin A. That's not vitamin A. So be cautious about over-the-counter things saying it's vitamin A. Vitamin A is the actual thing that you need. So a good multi will have these things in it, like the D, the A, the zinc in it and stuff like that, that helps your immune system in general. So I personally take 15,000 of international units of D every day of my life. When I suspect I'm coming down with something, I'll reach for 50,000, one a day for 5 days. And if we've run out of this, I'll take 5 of 10, the 10,000 a day for 5 days.
Okay. I'm seeing a question here from Amela about iodine. So with high dose iodine, how would you know if you need to increase your dose? Does your age make a difference? And that's about the iodoral 12.5 milligram.
Can you ask that question again?
With high dose iodine, iodoral 12.5 milligram, how would you know if you need to increase your dose? Does your age make a difference?
All right, well, 12.5 milligram tablets of iodoral or ithroid, which are the salt iodine, is not a high dose. That's not high dose. Mm-hmm. Now, in America, relatively, in which about 96-7% of us are deficient, yes, you would say relatively it's a higher dose than what we're getting in our diet. But the average, that capsule was based on the average iodine intake of Japanese women who have a very low level and men of prostate cancer. So they designed this following the population research of people with low incidence of these, hormone-based cancers.
So suffice it to say, 12.5 milligrams for your average adult a day would be your
wonderful minimum
and just fine.
Yeah.
Now, to answer the second part of that question, how would you know if you need to increase your dose? We do a test here where you can see what your levels are.
Right. Yeah. It's a 24-hour urine iodine collection. We ask you to take 4 tablets. 12.5 times 4 is 50 milligrams. And you take that, and then you collect all your urine for a day. Now, if your body wants that iodine, it's going to hold on to it, and you will not let it out in your urine. And I look on the test for the amount that you pee into your urine. If I see you pee above 90% of it out, you've got plenty of iodine, okay?
How often does that happen? Do you see patients that are sufficient?
I don't know that I've ever seen but one in all my decades of practice, okay?
So in a nutshell, we should all be taking at least 12.5 milligrams a day of iodine.
Yeah, I take 25, I use 2.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, Amila. There's a question here about the carnivore diet. What are your thoughts on the carnivore diet?
I like the carnivore diet, okay? So I'm not against it. If you're on the carnivore diet, then I'm going to ask you to be on Juice Plus, though, okay? Right. Because I do want some added nutrients, because I just think the American diet has hurt us so much through all its processing. I like the carnivore diet. If you're a blood type A, you're going to have trouble digesting all that rich protein and fat, so you have to know your blood type to be able to handle that. But I want to point out Dean Ornish with his diet, the Ornish diet, the other diets.
Atkins,
Paleo. Atkins and Paleo have plenty of protein in it and animal products. But the plant-based, plant-derived diets, the Dean Ornish diets, one of the reasons why they work as well is because they have the tenet that you must get all the processed food out of your diet, yes. You see? So you have to have someone with years of experience and understanding when these books are written. Why would you see a benefit in a test like in the China book or some of Dean Ornish's work and scientific publications? Why did they work? because they got all that sugar. And if you looked at my video on the sugar, they found the toxic metabolite, methyl glyoxal,
Yep.
So
we're starting to get a little short on time. I see a real easy question to answer here is the Argentin in the Core Cleanse. I'm assuming you're talking about the Core Detox with Your Doctor Core Restore Kit that we're going to be doing tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Kicking off. Argentin is not in that kit. That is an immune supporting thing that you can purchase separately. You can find it through a doctor, Sovereign Silver at stores, and somebody even said that you can find this on Amazon as well too. So that answers that easy question there. We could talk on and on about carnivore diets and protein sources and fat sources. In fact, if you go back and look in our videos, I think we've mentioned some of those things.
Yeah, about the healthy oils.
Right. And then we can talk more perhaps in the future about, okay, what types of meats in a carnivore type diet are healthy, because there's a big difference and there's a lot of controversy about pasture raised, free range, what do all these terms mean? Are they regulated or not? And how you personally buy your meat and eat it and prepare it.
Right.
Great. Well, I think that just about does it for our time today. We hope this helps ease your concern about the coronavirus, some things you can do practically either to prevent it, or certainly if you start feeling sick, get your butt in, get one of those IVs, or start on some high-dose vitamin C.
Are there any packages or things?
Yes. So here at TLC, if you want to come in and get IV, we have packages for 10 IVs, 20 IVs, and 30 IVs, and you'll save 10%, 20%, or 30%. And then you can use those IVs at any time. So we have patients that come in once or twice a year and buy a package of 30 just to get that nice savings, and they'll use that throughout the year. Absolutely. Great. Well, thanks for your time, guys. We look forward to seeing you at 9:45 a.m. Pacific next week.